It's time to answer your behavior change questions. If you've been watching our channel, you know that my name is Dr. Karin Nordin and I am the CEO and founder here at Body Brain Alliance. We're here to bring you the real science behind self-help. We have a very active community on Instagram, and every single Friday, I do a question and answer session where people can submit their behavior change questions and I answer them. Since I've never done that particular style of video with YouTube, I thought today would be a great day to get started. So I'm gonna answer some questions that our community has submitted and give some off-the-cuff advice on how to address various behavior change issues. Let's go ahead and dive in. Our first question for today is, how do I learn to treat something like it's a non-negotiable? This is a great question. So here's the thing about negotiables versus non-negotiables. It all really comes down to obstacles. When we have a behavior that we want to treat as a non-negotiable, but we're treating it as a negotiable, we're negotiating it, it's usually because we are giving control to something outside of us. So let's say, for example, that you want to go for a daily walk as a non-negotiable. You want to do that every single day without thinking about it, without mental drama about it. Well, I'm guessing it's mostly on the days where it's cold or it's rainy outside or you're really busy that you start negotiating that particular habit. Your first step is going to be to make an actual plan that's going to help you anticipate those obstacles and know what to do if they arise. So for example, maybe you buy a really nice raincoat so that even on the days where it's raining outside and it's gross, you can feel nice and covered and cozy and warm and treat your walk like it is non-negotiable. The other thing that you probably need to learn in order to treat something like it's non-negotiable is a skill called cognitive diffusion, which is where you're able to separate yourself from your thoughts and treat them as thoughts and not just facts. So when your brain says, well, we really don't have to do this today, you can stop the negotiation in its tracks instead of continuing on and eventually getting to the point where you fail to do the behavior. So try those two things out, and if you're interested in more information about this, we have a bonus workshop inside of Change Academy that is all about specifically how to form a non-negotiable. There's a 3-day trial available in the link in the description box if you want to check that out. All right, let's move on to tip number 2, which is your best tips on dealing with self-doubt. This is a really fun question. Here's the thing about doubt, is that doubt and opportunity, or doubt and possibility, are really two different sides of the same coin. So if you doubt that something is gonna go well, you also might doubt that it's not gonna go well. And I think a lot of us give airtime to the negative doubts we have in our head, but not necessarily the positive one. So that would be my first tip for you in terms of how to deal with self-doubt, is give more airtime, give more thought to the positive things that could happen, or the possibility that, sure, maybe you're less qualified than you thought, but maybe you're also more qualified than you thought. The other thing that I always tell our clients in Alliance Coaching is that you don't need 100% confidence in order to do a behavior or pursue a specific goal. You actually only need one singular moment of 1% confidence in order to take action. So instead of thinking, how am I going to become confident? How am I going to ditch self-doubt? Take self-doubt along for the ride. Everything that I've accomplished in my career that I have doubted right up until the moment it happened. And that didn't stop me from taking action, and it doesn't have to stop you either. Okay, let's move on to question number 3, which is how to work enough hours in the weekday to not have to catch up in the weekend. So this is a really interesting question. And if you were a client and you're asking me this, the question that I would ask you is, what counts as enough? What is enough hours during the weekday that you wouldn't have to work during the weekend? And how close are you to that target right now? The truth is, a lot of us focus on increasing our quantity of work when we should be focused on increasing our quality of work. If you're able to show up for 30 hours a week as your very best self, you're probably actually getting more done than showing up 40 hours a week as the tired, exhausted, distracted, and procrastinating version of you. When it comes to a question like, how do I fit more into the day? you really want to focus on fitting more tasks or becoming more efficient rather than just increasing the amount of hours that you're doing in the week. I hope that helps a little bit, but definitely check out this particular video on time blocking, which is one of my favorite tools to improve your efficiency and in general, get a hold on your time management. Okay, let's move to the next question. Very similar. How to stop leaving things until the end of the day. I've talked about this in another video, but when it comes to leaving things to the end of the day, what we actually want to do is the polar opposite. We want to essentially flip our schedule around. One of my favorite productivity hacks that you can use to do this is something called a dread sprint. So for the first 30 minutes of every day, you're taking the task that you would normally push towards the end of the day and you're getting it done as fast as possible. You're jumping into it right away. This is really, really helpful because it gives you a sense of accomplishment when that particular task is done, and it's going to reduce your procrastination tendency. The other thing that you can do here is only allow yourself for a specific period of time to put one thing on your to-do list. That way you can't procrastinate by doing other aspects of your to-do list. You have to do the one thing before you get to add something else on. Okay, let's move to the next question. What is the difference between a daily ritual and a daily habit? So this is an awesome question because it's something that I think pop culture gets totally wrong. So a habit is a tiny, tiny behavior that is associated with a cue. A routine is a string of habits that are put together, and a ritual is a habit or a routine with an emotional release behind it. Here's the problem that we run into because of our societal misunderstanding of habits. Habits can become automatic. Something like putting on your seatbelt when you get in the car is a habit, and therefore it can become that mindless automated task that you always assumed it would be. But we talk about other more complex behaviors like going to the gym, as if going to the gym can become a habit. And as if someday, if you go to the gym enough, you're just gonna mindlessly find yourself there. The truth is, going to the gym is not a habit. It is a routine, and we need to treat it like a routine and not a habit if we want to actually get better at it and if we want to become more regular with it. That's one of the things people absolutely get wrong about these three concepts. We have an entire workshop about habits, routines, and rituals, and when and how to create each of those three things inside Change Academy if you're looking for more information on that. All right, last question of our day. Do you ever choose not to track habits when you're sick? Do you make any notes those days? So I personally always track a yes or a no when it comes to habits. It doesn't matter the reason. It doesn't matter if I simply didn't do it or if I was sick that day or if there was a very good reason that I chose not to do it. I simply mark it as a no. And that's because if we get into a rhythm where we're always avoiding tracking our habits on the days we don't do them, that avoidance essentially insinuates that not doing that habit makes us bad. It adds moral value to it. But if we simply track it, binary, yes, no, that's just data. And data are completely neutral. It's our interpretation of the data that makes it mean something. If you have a really rocky relationship with consistency, if you feel like you have heightened emotions when you skip a habit, I highly recommend tracking the days you do and simply marking on the days that you don't, because that's one of the things that's gonna help neutralize that relationship. Let me know in the comments if you liked this style video, and if you did, I would love to also hear a question you have for my next Q&A video. But otherwise, I will see you next week.